Today, we are going to be reading new releases. One of my favorite things in this world is when one of my favorite authors releases a new book. In June and July, so many of my favorite authors are releasing new books. The first new release we're going to be reading is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, and I love Ali Hazelwood's books. I can just like devour them so quick. And she has become one of my favorite authors because she writes STEM romances. So I actually did already start this. I'm not very far in, 30 pages maybe. I'm enjoying it so far. We're just getting started. The female main character seems very interesting, and we also do get the male main character's perspective in this book, but it's not first POV, which is kind of confusing when I was reading. So the female main character's perspective is first POV and the male main character's perspective is third person. But I don't think in any of her other books we got the male main character's perspective, so I'm excited to see how she does it with this and excited to keep reading. Wouldn't be surprised if I finish this in the next day or two because she just like sucks you in. So let's get reading. I'm coming on to give my review of Not in Love. I finished this a few days ago and I wanted to sit on my thoughts because this book was kind of different for me when I was reading from the other Ali Hazelwood books. So we are following Eli, who runs this conglomerate investing company with his friends, and Rue, who is a scientist working on developing her own product and is like gonna get a patent out of it, and Eli's company is hoping to take over Rue's company that she's currently working for, and there's some like ulterior motives going on with the people who are trying to take over the company, but also with the owner of Rue's company. Honestly, it was a really interesting plot point in the book and what kept me wanting to read and moving the book forward. I think Ali Hazelwood does a good job of keeping an element of mystery so that we're like, oh, well, what does this mean? What's going on? And that makes the reader want to find out as well. And so I think that's why her books are so easy to binge. So I kind of felt detached while reading this book. I think just Rue's character was more cold and standoffish, and then Eli's character was written in third POV, which was interesting to jump from Rue, who's first POV, to Eli, who is third POV. I kind of felt like I was watching the events unfold from a fogged window. Normally, if I'm reading a book, I can picture what's happening really clearly, and I don't know if that's just because I didn't connect to the characters. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it, is what I want to preface. And I guess what I want to also address is, if you've heard anything about this book, it's probably that it's spicier than Ali Hazelwood's other works, which I would agree. And if you don't like spice, I still think you can skip over the spice, but I do think the spice contributes to the development of the character and the relationship. I also loved how Eli really met Rue where she was at and didn't try to push her, but like accepted her for who she was, and that's something I really did love about this book. I think I'm gonna give this a 3.5 stars. Not my favorite Ali Hazelwood, but I did still enjoy it. So the next new release I'm reading was also released on the same day as Not in Love, and that is Summer Romance by Annabel Monaghan. And I have not read any of her other books, but I've heard lots of good things, and I am just loving these summer romances. I'm in a mood for light summer times. It's warm out. These are the books for me, and there's a lot of good new releases coming. So this is the next book we'll be reading together. It has been a few days. I'm currently at the cabin. I started this here a couple days ago, and I'm on page 142 of Summer Romance by Annabel Monaghan. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. Loving it. I love the way she writes. I love the main character. She's going through a really big change in her life, and it's kind of affecting how she sees herself, and then also someone from her past comes into her life that knew her as kind of a different version of herself and is helping her bring this past, arguably better version out, which I love. There's also so many fun quotes in here. Again, just like the way she writes and says things, I love it. I keep finding little one-liners that I'm like, oh, underline, underline, underline. I'm just gonna read one. My smile goes up through my eyes into the top of my head. I am carbonated. I just love that. I am carbonated. And then she ties it in again later in the chapter, and I am carbonated again. Stuff like that makes me happy. It's not dual POV, we just get, it's in first POV, so we just get the main character. Like, what is her name? Ali. Ali is her name. It also feels like East Coast summer vibes. That's what this book is, and I'm here for it. I'm loving it. I'm eating it up. And we'll keep you guys updated. Hopefully I can finish it in a few days, and then we can get on to our next new releases. I finished her. She was incredible. I'm obsessed with this book now. I gave it 5 stars, and reading it, I just kept thinking of how I felt during Beach Read. And honestly, there is kind of similar themes in this book to Beach Read. I loved the main character's journey and growth, and how the male main character helped her rediscover herself, and that was such an interesting journey, and I just loved that. This book dealt with grief, with loss, with realizing you've lost yourself, with motherhood, and so many other things that were amazing. And I'm not a mother myself, but I am surrounded by many amazing mothers in my life, and I think they would all really love this book. And even if you're not a mother, I think this book is a wonderful, wonderful read. It was so easy to get attached to the characters, the things they said in this book, the lines about the dogs. Speechless. When authors do this, like summer romance, that is what this book is about. It does talk about summer romances, but it's so much deeper, and it's not surface level. I love the depth of this book. I love the depth of the characters. I love it all. I don't know what else there is to say. But we found a 5-star read of these new releases, and I'm really happy about it. There are a few other releases I would like to read for this video, but I do not have them yet, and I won't be getting them for a few more days, so I will see you guys then. Hello, beautiful people. I am back home, and I ended up stopping at Barnes & Noble and Target to get my new releases. Y'all, the week I'm filming this, Target had their Circle Week, and they had such good deals on books. I got 3 books for $30. That's basically half off. I'm obsessed, and they're all the new releases, so you're gonna know what I'm reading for this video. Leather and Lark, a novel love story. This summer will be different. And then at Barnes, I got Reckless, which is the second book, and Powerless. And you know, I could have started reading all these books. I was reading last night on my Kindle because I like to read on my Kindle before I go to bed, and if a physical copy of the book I'm reading isn't on Kindle Unlimited, I'll usually read another book. And so I didn't think I was gonna read this book because I read the first book of this Interconnected Standalone and a book from her other Interconnected Standalone series, and the first book I read from her other Interconnected Standalone series, I like DNF'd it halfway through. I just never picked it up again. And then the first book from this series, I read a chapter or two and I was like, this is so cringe. I'm not reading this. And then so I didn't think I'd read any of her other books, but this was on Kindle Unlimited. I literally got 150 pages in last night. What book am I talking about? It's Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. Love Redesign was the one where I read a few chapters and I just really didn't like it. And then I think it was the fine print or something. I read half of it and I was like, Anyways, this is the type of romance where within the first 2 pages, it talks about how muscular and tall the guy is. So like, that's just that type of vibe. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I normally just don't really gravitate. I don't know. Okay, anyways, I don't know what she put in this book, but I am loving it. Also, why is this romance book over 600 pages on my Kindle? I'm on page 150 and I'm barely even 25% in. Man, am I still gonna read it? Probably, but I didn't think I'd be reading it for this video. I'm really enjoying it. It's a single dad and nanny trope, and the dad is cold and brooding, and the nanny has kind of been scorned. What I like is, and I think was why I wanted to keep reading, was because you could tell there is more to these characters that she is alluding to that makes me want to keep reading. Oh, I also wanted to say, I don't have Summer Romance with me because I gave it to my cousin to read. She also gave it a 10 out of 10, you guys. But I don't know if I said this in my review of that book. I loved how the author made the main character seem so present. There was different points in the book where I was like, wow, this character is in the moment. And I don't have any quotes right now, but maybe I'll put some up on the screen. There was one where they were like on the beach and she was talking about the rocks of the island that she saw in front of her, like how the wind felt on her face, just stuff like that where I'm like, you are so present and I love it. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. Inside I feel it. Oh my gosh, is it audio on? Come on, bruh. All right, Daniel, I love you. I'm not getting copyrighted. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a chaotic day. I finished work. You saw I read a little bit of Love Unwritten while I was eating my lunch with Thor. And now, for reasons totally unrelating to buying books, I'm going to Barnes & Noble. Will I still end up buying a book? Probably. Will I buy Love Unwritten while I'm at Barnes & Noble, even though I'm reading it on my Kindle? Maybe. I made it. Hello. It has been honestly over a month since we've chatted, and that feels very wrong, but I don't know if I've addressed this. I think I've sprinkled it in here and there, but I'm reapplying to school. I'm planning on going back to school, hopefully if I get in. I'm not gonna say what for yet because I'm being superstitious, but if I get in, you will know. The applications have been taking up pretty much my whole summer beyond work, so I haven't had a lot of time to do YouTube. It's been on the back burner, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm kind of surprised that I am able to talk this coherently on camera. It's been a while, but I'm here to give my review of Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher, which was the last new release I read for this video, and I did end up buying it that day at Barnes & Noble. I actually ended up taking like over a week longer to finish this book because this thing is a brick. Did I hate it? No. I gave it a 3 stars, which is honestly a good rating. That's not a bad rating, but I will say this book was so long and had so many different plots, which makes sense why it was so many pages, over 600 pages, but I just don't necessarily see the reason a romance book should have that many pages. That's just my opinion. I will say, I think if you really like love these characters, you would eat it up, because reading it felt more like watching a TV show than a movie, whereas like most romance books feels like watching a movie, but this one was more like a TV show, if that makes any sense. We gave her 3 stars. If you like Lauren Asher, give it a try. If not, whatever. I have 3 more books that I want to read for this video. I'm not planning on reading Leather and Lark for this video because we've already read 3 books. 7 books is just like a lot for a video, that seems, but I still have these 3 that I want to read that are not really new releases anymore, but I still haven't read them, again because I haven't been filming videos. I've been reading, just not as much, and I haven't been filming, but we're back. Hopefully to regularly scheduled programming soon. There might be some non-book videos in the future, so be ready for that. I'm excited for that. And all the books I've read over summer, I'm gonna do a big summer wrap up so we can chat about books I've read that aren't in these videos. But anyways, I think I'm gonna read a novel love story. I think I'm in the mood for a romance, and I love Ashley Poston's writing. The 7-Year Slip was 5 stars for me. I think about that book way too much. I love seeing it on my shelf. I'm excited to get into this one too. Whenever I see the words country roads, I just automatically think of that one song. Country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia. You know, that song. That's so cute. Oh my god. I love the way she describes things. So good. Hello! I just got home from work and I actually finished a novel love story last night. I am thoroughly obsessed with this book. The way she puts together words and constructs her sentences and her characters, I just love it so much. We're following Elsie and she's a lover of romance books, but she's also kind of going through a heartbreak and I guess doesn't really know what she wants out of life or who she is, you could say almost. She's going for a book club vacation when she ends up in the town that is actually the setting of her favorite book series. Talk about a dream, okay? I did tear up towards the end of this book and that's how you know I was invested. The tears were swelling. It wasn't like an ugly cry, but it was a glistening tear. I will say though, I was invested, the characters, but I did feel a little detached from the romance. It kind of just came out of nowhere for me and I was like, oh. And I didn't feel super connected to that, but I still enjoyed it. This book was a literal love letter to romance readers, and it was just such a joy to read. The things she put in here about reading and how it makes you feel and how you connect to the characters and all the emotions surrounding romance reads is so good. I will say she also weaves a little bit of mystery into this book through a few different avenues, which did make me want to keep reading. And I will say I guessed part of it, which I think is pretty obvious, but I didn't guess the whole picture, and that's what had me tearing up. And then I also really enjoyed the themes of friendship woven throughout this book. It was really beautiful through the main character and her recounting times with her best friend, reading and sharing stories and both being lovers of romance. My rating for this book is 4.5 stars. It was so close to a 5-star, but it just didn't give that 5-star feeling, and I think that's because I did feel a little bit disconnected from the romance. But I will say I loved the male main character. He was so thoughtful. I just love that in a male main character. Oh my gosh, that reminds me, I read Play Along in July, in like the month where I didn't film anything for this video, and I didn't realize that had just come out. It was on Kindle Unlimited and I was reading the Windy City series on my Kindle. I just thought of that because the mailman character in that is so thoughtful, but I'm gonna give you guys my review of that book too because it's technically a new release and I just loved that book so much. I think I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I don't have any footage of me reading it, but I figured this was the time to do it. I am obsessed with both Isaiah and Kennedy. If you don't know what the Windy City series is, it's by Tomforde and it's about different professional athletes in Chicago, but they're romances. So this was a baseball player and the team doctor, that was the romance, and it was so good, you guys. Isaiah was so thoughtful the whole time. I eat that up. I eat it up if she says she likes something once or does something once and they remember it later in the book. I'm like, oh, I just need to calm down over here. I'm just getting too excited because it's so good. I also really enjoyed how it covered women in sports and specifically women in sports medicine. That was a big theme woven throughout the book. Their relationship was so endearing. I loved it so much. I feel like I could read their story 500 million times. That's what I wanted to do when I finished the book. I was like, I just need to read it again. That's just a 5-star feeling, you know? The vibes were amazing. 5 stars to Play Along. And now we're going to be reading our next new release, which isn't that new anymore, but it's new to me. New for the summer. Reckless by Lauren Roberts. I read Powerless in my 24-hour reading challenge and I was kind of disappointed because the hype was so big and I kind of expected a little more, but I did still enjoy it. So I'm picking up this one and I'm excited to be in this world again. I'm curious to see where this book takes us. The first book was more of a trials fantasy type book and I didn't actually read the novella. I don't think you need to though. I'm gonna be reading this tonight. I need to make dinner and then I'm gonna read. So let's do that. Hello, happy Saturday. I love the weekend. Oh, so happy it's here. And I actually finished Reckless last night. I didn't really say anything from when I started it to when I finished it. And I think that's just because I was stewing in the book and how I was feeling about it. But you guys are gonna get all my thoughts and feelings now. For the first like 50 to 60% of the book, it felt like an episode of Tom and Jerry where it was cat and mouse. The two main characters were chasing each other back and forth, and I didn't hate it, but also I feel like it could have been cut shorter and it didn't really need to drag on for that long. This felt like 90% romance, 10% fantasy, and I did pick up bits and pieces throughout of things that might come up in the third book, but pretty much it was just them bantering back and forth, which was kind of how I felt in the first book. But I felt like this kind of flowed better, if that makes sense, whereas in the first book they'd be doing stuff and it'd be like, stop, banter back and forth. But this book, they were just trudging through where they were trying to get for like the entire book, bantering the whole time. I'm like, oh my god, I don't know. I did enjoy the ending. I was kind of shook. I have no idea where it's gonna go. Am I going to read the third one? Probably. Did I enjoy reading this book? It made me so frustrated. I don't even know if I can say that. I'm debating between like 2.5 and 3 stars because I give books that I just enjoy and like don't think about 3 stars, but this book really frustrated me and I don't know if I'd recommend it, honestly. So I think I'm gonna give it 2.5, maybe 2. It just pissed me off so much. I feel like they didn't get anywhere, but the banter's on point though. We'll say that. Okay, anyways, I don't want to think about this too much, otherwise I'm gonna get severely frustrated again. The last book we'll be reading for this video is This Summer Will Be Different, and I actually started this last night after I finished Reckless, and this book was what I needed after that. I was reading it by the water and it was the perfect scene to start this book, and as you can see, I'm already halfway through it. I am loving this. I am eating it up. It is everything I needed and more. I was able to read this morning too because it's, like I mentioned, a Saturday and I just love a Saturday morning reading. For this author, I read her first book. What was it? I think it was Meet Me at the Lake, but I really enjoyed that. And then the second book she came out with last year, I didn't read because a lot of the people that I hear reviews from did not recommend it. But then this one I picked up, so maybe, and I'm really enjoying it, so maybe I will go back and read her other novel that I haven't read. There's something going on. There's something a brewing. You only get the female main character's point of view, but something's going on with her best friend. This is like a brother's best friend romance, but it's not cheesy. And it's different from other brothers' best friends that I've read. So there's some deeper things happening in these pages, and I enjoy that. I'm gonna read more today. Probably not until later, but I got really far. I'm at 160 pages, so I'm excited to see where it goes. So I'm back home and I finished This Summer Will Be Different actually on Saturday night, so I read it in like maybe 24 hours from when I started it to when I finished it, because I started it Friday night, finished it Saturday night, and I really enjoyed this book. I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5 stars. I didn't have that 5-star feeling, but I just loved reading this, and that might be because of the setting that I read it at was my happy place. It's set in Prince Edward Island, which seems like it is the character's happy place, so I think that contributed to the rating, the ambiance of when I was reading it and where it was set. I think this is like the perfect summer read. I love the way Carley Fortune writes. It's in first POV. You're following Lucy, and she is a florist in Toronto, but her best friend Bridget lives on Prince Edward Island. So through multiple years, she's going to the island with her friend Bridget, and who does she meet there but her best friend's brother. I really just think I love the setting of this book. I did really enjoy the characters. There was something with the main character. I don't know if I said this, but like there was like a little mystery going on with the best friend was like keeping something from the main character, and I was like, what is going on here? So that made me want to keep reading too. And I like when authors do that because then it makes me want to keep reading. Like I'm invested. I want to know. That's probably why I finished this book so fast, but I really enjoyed the way it played out. Again, 4.5 stars, didn't have that 5-star feeling, but I still really, really love this book and would recommend it for these last few fleeting moments of summer. This did have some good fall references too, because sometimes when they go back to Prince Edward Island, it's in the fall. So I do think this would be a good fall read as well. Or if you're just in your happy place, read this book. With that, those are all the new releases that I am going to be reading for this. It is a little late, but as always, if you've read any of these books, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And thank you so much for watching. I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!